It is Tucson Tuesday on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. I got to go to the game last night and pretend I'm a professional. Let's get into it.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Coyotes, number one daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes. Today's episode is a great Tucson Tuesday as we discuss the Tucson Roadrunners. I let Matthew go out on a unsupervised media press down in Tucson. It was the first time that I can say that he's gone down to cover a Tucson game, and I'm actually not covering a game. It felt weird that being the case, but you know what? We're all for opportunities here.
We're all for opportunities, and also a huge thank you before we get started with this episode to Adrian Denny. I sent him an email at like 9 a.m. because I did not know that there was a game yesterday, and I've been working every single day. I was like, oh my god, this is an opportunity to get down to Tucson and cover a game. Phenomenal by Adrian, and I'm forgetting the name of the other individual, but you guys did great work. Thanks for hooking me up. I even got my own little table and everything there. It was fun.
The Roadrunners media team has always been great. Those that have followed me for so many years know that I've covered them for so long, so I've got a good rapport with them personally. So it really helps when you know them pretty well, and you got a chance to meet them when we were down there together for the preseason game. But let's get into it though, because the Tucson Roadrunners took on the Iowa Wild. Not the minor league team for the Minnesota Wild. I go figure.
It was not a 6-0 victory, by the way. I'm just gonna say that out loud. It was not a 6-0 victory. But interestingly enough, and I love these little notes that they'll give us. So I have my little notes right here. The Coyotes, the Roadrunners. It was actually All-Star Matthew Villalta versus former Tucson Roadrunner Jase McIntyre. That was interesting because I knew I recognized the name. Like, didn't he play for Tucson like 2 years ago for a handful of games and then got waived?
Yeah, I think what was the situation with that? Wasn't he essentially there just to kind of like fill in because Prosvetov got called up and there was no backup, or like I forgot what it was. There was
that or an injury. There might have been an injury at the time. AHL rosters changed so much.
There's so much turnover in the American Hockey League. It is insane. Which is why, like, if you have a player who is like a lifelong of that team, it's a rarity. It's like a obviously, and that person is a lifelong AHLer. They don't really ever really get a chance to make the NHL. We like seeing the ones that actually do make it, though.
You know what's funny? I had a whole thing I was going to point out. Oh yeah, they actually have 3 players that are from Minnesota, so it makes a lot of sense. Iowa Wild. my brain don't do the working every now and again. But anyway, so last night Tucson heads into this game 21-11, 1-1. They're second in the Pacific. I think it's I should double check right here. I don't have to think. I can just double check because Tucson does a phenomenal job giving you game notes. They're only 3 points behind the Calgary Wranglers for first in the Pacific. Their home record 8-5, 0-1 heading into it, so they had a big opportunity to kind of extend that in their solid Kachinas. While the logo always makes me laugh, the especially the incorporation of purple is phenomenal. I know Robin has an opinion on that.
Oh my god, yes. The purple on the Roadrunners Kachinas is just it's so beautiful. I think it's the best. It creates the best jersey in the American Hockey League without a doubt.
The scratches were Cam Crotty, Yan Yannick, Curtis Douglas, and Stephen Comfer. Side note, where I was stationed over with my little table, Comfer was like sitting over there for like 2/3 of the game.
Interestingly, I saw it's really quick. I saw your picture of where you were on that. Different different corner of the venue than when they used to put me when I was media.
Yeah, I they treated me special because I'm charming or something, or they just I was a last edition, so here's a table of it. I was ecstatic, except for when I forgot to charge. I'm like standing over by the wall behind me by the mini donuts and getting a charge off the wall. But anyway, enough embarrassing myself down there. I don't really know a lot of the injury stuff, so I'm going to assume most of those players are at least dealing with something minor. Anyway, Tucson got possession of the puck to start off the game, and Doan had a pretty decent shot in front that was deflected. Iowa really came to play. I think Iowa, especially to start this game, was just the better team. The shots were 1-0 Tucson at that point at 18:03. And let's see. I forgot to mention the goaltending matchup on my actual notes. My notes are a little backwards. That's on me. There was also a lot of chippiness in front of the net. So the amount of times that Villalta, even in just the first period, Robin, would freeze the puck after a save, and there's just scrum going on. This is a Central Division team against a Pacific Division team. I don't think they have a rivalry or anything, but it got chippy really early.
It's interesting because I felt like that was the case for a long time. I think that kind of goes back, like maybe even though the players are different, it goes back to like I think there was a period. It was like sometime a few years ago, I think before the pandemic hit. These two teams would go against each other like 7 or 8 times, even though they were in different divisions. I don't know why. Like it just maybe because.
Oh, it's like the Coyotes Blues thing where they had a legitimate 7-game series in 2021 of the season.
It wasn't like that where like, but it was like there were 2 games and then like it would be back and then like they'd be back again and like for another 2 games in a month, and then they'd go over there and it'd be another 2 games over there, and it's just like, oh my god, you're playing against each other so many times. That's also the American Hockey
Division rival.
That is the American Hockey League for you, though. You will go against teams that are closer to you, and the Wild are considered a closer team. Now that the AHL has like 10 Pacific Division teams, I feel like that's going to happen. That's happening less now, but I think there's still remnants from that.
Yeah. And I guess just keep things moving forward here. I wanted to bring up Victor Soderstrom real quick. So there was he had some solid coverage on a one-on-one that was brewing, and it forced a low percentage shot. Soderstrom, I was trying to figure out whether I was trying to follow the game or follow individual players, and I got it was a little bit of an experience for like the second and third period, but here I was paying attention to Soderstrom, his positioning, how he applied solid enough pressure without giving up too much space on the ice to allow for the player to move past him and get a higher shot. I thought that was really solid for him. It's good to see his development moving along. And defensively, he's never really been bad. I think my main criticism has been the offense kind of like at the NHL level kind of disappeared overnight. And it was really weird when that happened.
That makes sense, though.
And then before we head into break, he had a bobbled pass that turned into a solid rush and a shot by Josh Doan at the 6-minute and 8-second mark. And we'll actually have a Ben McCartney play and a word from Ben McCartney after a quick word from today's sponsor on the show.
And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. I know that you guys might be frustrated when trying to buy tickets, and you just look and you just think you're getting a good deal. You get surprised by crazy fees. You end up getting a bad seat as well. Gametime is out there to fix everything for you, with everything from last minute deals, flash deals, zone deals, used from all seats in the venue, as well as all in pricing to show your total up front, so you know you're getting a good deal before you check out. It is the best app to buy tickets because you can really just buy tickets in just seconds with 2 apps, and for all kinds of events in your area, not just sporting events, but concerts, comedy shows. You name it. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
So early on in that first period, Robin, and we'll also have a clip coming up from Steve Potvin. Tucson was not able to generate a whole lot of offense. There was a couple of rushes, a couple of shots, but they also had a lot of turnovers. And there was this one moment where Ben McCartney, he shows off some moves where he did this weird 360 move, gets to the net, solid shot, and they were building something that wouldn't really turn into much until the second period. But I did get a chance to ask him about that shot after the game.
Yeah, you know what? Like on those plays, you just go as hard as you can and just hope the puck stays on your stick. But I was lucky enough to get a shot off, and you know what? I just thought like my line mates were creating space out there, so it really helps out.
Good Canadian boy. He is so Canadian with that accent. I love that man. He's a good guy. But no, it was a solid play by Ben there. I had to make sure I had that in my notes because it kind of felt like Tucson really needed that, even though it wouldn't end up really turning into that much until the second period.
Yeah.
Then, oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say I think that's the thing too. Is like those are the kind of like skill things that you try that you learn and you get to develop from from times in either juniors, minors, whatever it might be.
And then there was a little bit of a tussle after an offside call. And I also wanted to point this out. There was a guy wearing a Nate Schnarr jersey for a few rows off the ice. He wasn't very happy about that. For like 10 minutes afterwards, I just kept trying to read the jersey. Nate Smith took a roughing penalty. Milos Kellerman was denied on a shorthanded shot. It was a pretty much a breakout, and it just nothing happened on the play, but that was a really solid shot, really solid opportunity. Tucson, their penalty kill, I think, played really well throughout the night until the third period, where while I still thought they were playing well, they were getting outplayed. And I think it was after a power play, Iowa finally gets on the board. Iowa takes a penalty. It's 0-0 after one. The shots were 12-6, Robin. It was definitely one-sided. And while Tucson had a couple of opportunities, they definitely turned the puck over way too much, especially in the offensive zone specifically. And while I got to talk to Coach Potvin after the game, while the word flat-footed was probably the incorrect terminology, definitely take a couple extra seconds, think about what you're going to say. It's an acquired skill, but I noticed that. I wanted to go ahead and ask him if he noticed the same thing and kind of what the game plan was going into the second period.
Maybe a little bit in the ozone, but I thought we were connected. I didn't think we were flat. I think we weren't really getting the bounces, or we weren't really executing, as fine as we would like to. But I really liked our breakouts, and I really liked how we were controlling the neutral zone, and so that was good. But as you said, we weren't executing offensively, and so a lot of times it led to a miss net to a line rush against. So we had to just clean it up just a little bit and just have the presence to execute on our play.
And they definitely did that in the second period, executing a lot more. To start off the second, Nate Smith barely misses a great one-timer setup, barely misses a wide open spot. You have a fight between Conley and Hunter Drew. Drew won that one. The crowd in Tucson was starting to get fired up. And then a little bit after, a little bit before the midway part of the period, Josh Stone opens up the scoring with a solid back. It's a forehand backhand move, his 14th of the season from Ben McCartney and Justin Kirkland. And Tucson, they got the scoring started, and you're going to hear Donor coming up, and also you're going to hear a little more Ben McCartney's name brought up moving forward in this game. Tucson gets another power play, and they end up halfway through that power play, Robin. Donor gets his second of the night from Kirkland at 12:27. John Leonard was later credited with an assist as well. You have some more scrums in front, and Soderstrom hits a penalty with about 2 minutes, 55 seconds to go. 2-0 Tucson after two. And while the shots were 12-6 for Iowa in the first, they were 13-6, Robin. In the second, Tucson had that pressure. They had that push, and they really took control of the game in the second period, I think.
That's a kind of a really important thing to get for out of a team like the Roadrunners, especially because like I feel like this team is we already know this team is a lot better this year than in the years past. Mm-hmm. It's such a breath of fresh air when they were able to get string together performances like that.
Yeah, and like as long as I've been covering them since, or paying attention / covering when I can since 18, 19, they'll start off hot and then it's a lot of mediocrity. So it's like the fact that they're managing to sustain some of this, and they've had players get called up, called down, they've had some injuries. I think it just shows what they're doing down there. It shows how good the coaching staff is, how good the team as a unit is. And let's go ahead and head into the third period, Robin, where Iowa gets on the board and they started to make a push. 4 minutes, 39 seconds in, they make a push. They end up getting on the board. It's 2-1, and it kind of feels from that point, Tucson is mostly kind of playing not just like lockdown, we're not going to shoot, but it kind of felt like, okay, we'll just try to finish the game strong. There was one play. I talked to coach afterwards a little bit, but I probably could just tell you what he said. So it's one play where Smith, he does it's a cross check behind the play, and definitely needs to watch that a little bit. The refs didn't see it. He comes back into the zone, runs through a couple of players in the blue line, and then gets taken out behind the net. There was just a couple solid plays that Smith had as like an energy guy. So from a Coyotes fan perspective, a good energy guy down there, generating a couple of chances. His name was on my notes a couple of times, just missing the net wide. Solid kind of energy guy down there in Tucson. Maybe he never ends up being an NHLer, but hopefully he could end up being someone that can be in Tucson for another couple of years and kind of be one of the staple players down there.
I mean, that's always the hope, right?
Mm-hmm. You do have a bit of a scary play later on where Pagansky, he gets taken down on a rush, goes right into the boards, takes him a little bit to get up. He ends up staying in the game. He stayed on the ice for the very next shift. I asked coach about that as well. He said he's going to be okay. And it's good to see that we're not going to have any injuries there, because Tucson really, can't afford any injuries. And then we go to the very late in the period, Robin, where Josh Stone, with about 30 seconds to go, is trying to make a rush for the empty net. He's out there for the hat trick, and it ends up not going his way, going to the boards back behind the net. I asked him about that. We have a clip of Josh Stone, what his mindset was on that play.
Going to the boards.
Yeah, I think it's an awkward puck. I would have liked it to slow down a little bit and come outside. I think the last thing that went through my mind was don't go too quick and try to rush one and stuff it. And if he jumps it right, then send them back down the other way on a 6-on-4 is the last thing I wanted to do in a 2-1 game. Maybe if it's 3-1, it's a little bit different. But at the end of the day, the win is more important right now, and I had to make sure the puck stayed low.
And right there, I thought I was going to have to get Robin to clip a second clip. We didn't end up needing it. He said it perfectly, and he actually said it a couple of times in our time talking to him, that the win was more important. He gets it. He gets the winning mindset. They're doing something down there in Tucson, whether it's just a handful of players or it's a cultural thing from Steve Potvin himself down. The win is more important. And to a certain extent, while I'm looking at my notes before the game, no one's individual stats is really, sticking out as really good except for Donor and Gunther. That doesn't really matter, because as a team, they're playing well as a unit and they're getting those wins. Who cares that you don't have like all these top scorers in the league? You got a complete unit. And I respect that. And I like how, Kellerman ends up getting an empty net goal, his sixth, from McCartney and Cook. And as friend of the show, Mike Gould said, Ben McCartney had 3 primary assists in that game, Robin. Solid team effort, good performances by players like Josh Stone, Matt Villalta, Ben McCartney. I got nothing negative to say. That was minus the first period being a little flat. And as an ASU fan, someone who's been watching them throughout the year, it's kind of a common thing. It feels like, to be a little flat in the first period, but
Yeah,
they took care of business and they looked pretty good consistently doing it.
yeah, and as you were mentioning earlier, as long as the team puts together a win, regardless, I feel like that's all that matters.
Mhm.
And I even think when it comes to those individual pieces, you kind of made me think back to when the last Roadrunners game I covered. It's been a little bit, but it was right. It was like when they were in the hunt for the Calder Cup playoffs last year. And it was in Bakersfield. I just happened to have been in Bakersfield that weekend.
Mhm.
And Again, it was coincidentally, but I talked to Doan, and in my focus on asking him was, how he thinks of his role as, trying to help the Roadrunners make a push for the Calder Cup playoffs. And, that, like what you were saying in terms of that kind of mindset, had that same exact mindset. So like,
I think that boy's gonna make it. I don't know if it's gonna be next year, but I think Doan is gonna make it and be an NHL caliber player, even if it's a middle to bottom six role. I think he's going to be a contributing piece on a team that ends up winning something.
I really want to see the Roadrunners make not just a push for the Calder Cup playoffs, because we already know that I think at this point I'm pretty comfortable, but they'll probably make it into that bit. I want to see them make a push for the actual, like, in the Calder Cup playoffs, like see how far they can take it.
Oh, I mean, Robin, we're just before,
but
we're just before the mid part of the season, and Donor is on pace for around 35 goals. Quietly, very quietly, it feels like, except for a little more recently. So it's like you got someone that can help lead them. You got a team that's all playing as a cohesive unit. You got seemingly very good, capable coaching staff down there. I think they can make some noise.
Yeah, it's so amazing when you see that kind of unit put together. You have the performance that you've seen from Josh Doan, as well as the performances from all-star players, Dylan Gunther, and again who's been with the Coyotes lately, and Matt Villalta. Like they're all-star AHLers for a reason. They're going to be headed to San Jose in a couple weeks from now, but for that weekend. But like, hey, like, I feel really good about this team.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to feel really good about? Taking another ad break from a sponsor on today's show. And today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. It's almost the halfway point of the season. Coyotes fans are the Coyotes could make the playoffs. They're still in the hunt, regardless of where they are on the current standings. I want to remind you that you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. Let's say if you bet that Clayton Keller is going to score a couple of goals, or you want to bet on how many shots Connor Ingram is going to have to face. What plays you take this week to win 100 times your money? All you have to do is pick whether studs like Keller. You can even go with like McDavid or Ovechkin. Ovechkin's still a stud, right? Will record more or less in their Sleeper projections and things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus or more in a given game. To win 100 times your bet on Sleeper, you correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Coyotes fans. You can win 100 times your money by playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Robin, after watching me squirm through an ad, after watching me squirm through that, I was so confident this is our best episode of Locked On so far. I got the insanely talented producer over here, the somewhat talented, charismatic reporter that made everyone laugh. I made sure to we don't have the clip on record right now, but I do want to be like, I did ask Donor, an ASU alum, how it feels like going out there with that disgusting U of A logo everywhere on the boards, Robin. And, there's a little bit of a ASU still the college leader in the Valley for hockey, but hey, I'm just there to have a little bit of fun. And I thought, so far, this has been the best show we've produced that didn't have to do with an arena or me absolutely losing my freaking mind.
Hey, you know what? I feel like when we're able to get opportunities like that, it really puts things in perspective for all of us, and that's a huge opportunity, getting a chance to cover a Roadrunners game, actually getting the time to do that. Like, like I said, they're great down there, and they really make sure that we're able to get all the stuff we need.
Seriously, such a short turnaround time for me to get added on. I got my own little table. Like it's a privilege. It legitimately is a privilege. And I got to go. I don't know how my wife lets me leave the house looking like a snack, but I got to go get all snazzy and head on down to Tucson and it's about all I got. Look, the Roadrunners after a bit of a sloppy start finished the game strong, and I don't really know if there's much else to say past they needed to beat Iowa. Iowa is a below 500 team. The Roadrunners are a 20 plus win team. You have to beat the teams that you need to beat. However, with how Iowa pushed in the first period and then late in the third, it was definitely they're not going to go down without a fight type scenario. And the fact that Tucson answered the bell, they stayed with it, it shows character. It shows they're doing something right down there. And I am really optimistic about what this team can do. And I need to make sure I go down there at least a couple more times, even if it's just for the playoffs this year. I'm feeling really confident about this group.
Oh, if the team makes the playoffs, we're going down as a unit.
Road trip. Locked On Coyotes Tucson road trip for the playoffs. Let's go.
Yeah, it would be Tucson road trip 2 because our Tucson road trip 1 was the preseason game.
Yeah, but that doesn't really count. That was a Coyotes game. We're here for the Road Runners, the best thing in Tucson. You know what? I'll give it credit. I'm so used to driving in Tucson, unfortunately, now to where like I can just get where I need to be relatively pain-free. Like it's not that bad. Tucson's fine.
it's a good city. It's just people give a lot of crap for it because they just don't like because you grew up here in the valley. It's just the natural rivalry.
Yeah, it's a territorial rivalry. Like there's a reason why like it's hate week both in Tucson and in Tempe whenever you have a rivalry game because it's such a big rivalry. It's like I get it, and I can't wait for some hockey because I know we're locked on Coyotes and Roadrunners technically stretches it a little bit. I don't care. We're here to provide as much quality coverage as we can. If U of A makes that jump too, we're gonna do at least a couple bonus like Saturday episodes. We go down there and cover rivalry weekend, whether it's in Tempe or down in Tucson. If they make that jump, we're doing that 110%. We're gonna give you guys that quality content you can't get anywhere else.
Oh no, absolutely. I feel like again that's the biggest thing is talking about. Yeah, we're locked on Coyotes, but to me, and I'm pretty sure you can agree with me in this. I feel like together we are locked on Arizona hockey.
Yes.
Because
locked on Valley hockey, baby.
I said Arizona hockey.
Valley. Continue. I'm just here to throw you off your game.
I have always done again. There's a reason why I do the Grow the Game series because we're focusing on growing the game of hockey in the entire state of Arizona. And it's been great. I'm trying to get more guests on, so we're going to be getting expect some episodes of Locked On Grow the Game, Locked On Coyotes Grows the Game to come out again sometime soon, hopefully. I just had to finalize some details for you all.
Finalize some details. I think that brings us up, Robin, to the final thoughts on today's show. I think I already gave my whole spiel, but phenomenal work by Coach Potvin and the boys down there, and I can't wait to get another opportunity, seriously, to go down there and have a little fun covering some Tucson and making a couple people laugh in the interviews because that's what I need to do.
Oh, again, like I said, I couldn't say it better. Roadrunners, like I said, they put on a great show. I kind of can't wait. It's been a long time since I covered a Roadrunners playoff game, and like I said, I don't want to go look too far ahead. But last time I was there was for they made it to the divisional finals, and that whiteout was fun. So
I can't wait to see another whiteout in this state. But hey, that's what we got for you on today's show. Robin, take it away. I'm gonna exit stage left, but Robin needs to set up all the finer details.
Well, that's going to be it for today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcast, including on YouTube, Sirius XM, and ad-free to our Amazon Prime subscribers on Amazon Music. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, and on X at LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robin_Leano. Matthew Jacobson is at the AZ Sports Guy. Interact with us, ask a question you might have. We might answer right back on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.